The channel recently hit 3,000 subscribers, an incredible number that I can only sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me to reach. I'm really glad you find the content entertaining and you want to keep watching it, and yeah, it's a privilege to be able to provide you with entertainment or education or whatever you get out of these videos, really, so thank you very much for that. In celebration, I have done a Q&A. Well, I've done the Qs, I've got the questions, I haven't done the answers yet, that's what this is for. So technically we're doing a Q&A, I guess that's a better way to put it. So I've just taken some questions that people have asked in a recent community post that I made. I'm just going to run through them and answer them. I've not really prepared any answers. Obviously I've thought about the questions to an extent, but I've not got anything written down or scripted or anything like that is what I'm trying to say. Now, before we go any further, I would like to thank those people who back the channel on Patreon. It really does help me out a lot, and I would really like to say thank you for that support. Obviously, massively appreciate everyone who supports the channel, and yeah, it means a lot, so thank you very much for that. Now, let's get into this. I guess I'll just start from the earliest one asked. I don't know what's going to be in the background of this, by the way. I don't know if I will bother to edit it or if it'll just be some background gameplay. I'll put it in text on the screen now, what's in the background. So look at it or not, I don't really care. But the first question, what's the story behind your channel's logo? So my channel's logo is based off of the logo of my favorite football team, soccer if you're American. I'm from a place called Mansfield in the UK. I support Mansfield Town Football Club, and that's what my logo is based off of. Back when I used to have a different YouTube channel where I played a different game, somebody offered to make me a logo based off of that, and yeah, that's where it came from, and I really like it. I'm a big fan. So it was very nice of them to do, and yeah, now this is the logo, and it probably will be for a very long time. I don't see me ever changing it. Maybe I will. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? What's your favourite JRPG series? I don't play a ton of JRPGs. A lot of sort of more action-based JRPGs, like your Nier Automatas and things like that, aren't really super up my street. Not to say I heavily dislike them or anything, I just never found myself really clamoring to play them. When I play JRPGs, it's mostly like the turn-based stuff, but even then, the other big problem I kind of have with JRPGs is they're so long. Like, I enjoyed what I've played of Final Fantasy VII, but Christ alive, the game never ends. Like, the original Final Fantasy VII, like not the remake. Well, technically it was the remake, because it was the Steam remake, but not the new remake, not the third-person one, the one where it was still all blocky and everything. You know what I mean. But yeah, I really enjoyed what I played of that game, but I didn't finish it because it goes on forever, and I had my fill, I guess. And then by the time I wanted to play more, I, like, kind of forgot what happened in the game, or, like, some of the intricacies, so I feel like I'd have to start again, and then we'd hit the whole cycle over again, and yeah. I don't play a huge amount of JRPGs, but there are definitely some that I've enjoyed. Does Pokemon count? If Pokemon counts, it's Pokemon. Like, it's an RPG, and it's Japanese, so I guess it counts. Sure, Pokemon, let's go. How did you get into Fire Emblem? I was a child, I was 9 years old, and I was on holiday with my parents in the USA. I was in Florida, and we were in a Walmart, and I remember seeing the cover for a game which I've never seen before, and obviously I played a lot of games at the time, even as a young child, and going to the Game Boy Advance section in Walmart and seeing a game I've never seen before that looked really cool, and I didn't ask for a ton as a child. I mean, I was definitely spoiled to a degree, but I didn't really ask for a ton. So when I was like, parents, please get me this, they were like, okay, fine, sure, we're glad you want something here. And yeah, my first game was Sacred Stones, and I basically only played Sacred Stones for a very long time. So yeah, that's how I got into Fire Emblem. I found Sacred Stones in a Walmart in America in 2005, I want to say. So yeah, it's been a long time, and hopefully it's still a long time to come. What inspired you to make the channel? I don't really know. I just enjoyed playing. I was in love with Three Houses at the time. There's no other way to describe it. Like, I was completely enamored with the game, and I just wanted a platform to talk about it more, I guess. I mean, yeah, that's essentially it. I just wanted to be able to talk about Fire Emblem more and sort of share my thoughts on it. I'd done YouTube in the past on a couple of other games, and it just felt like a fun thing to do. This was also, like, I think it was 2021 like mid-2021, so I think we were in lockdown, maybe? Or we might have been in that weird period where we were back and forth. Either way, I remember being, like, really bored. So that definitely contributed to a degree. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there, really. But yeah, that, other than wanting to talk about Fire Emblem, not a whole lot, really. There wasn't a ton of thought that went into it. It's not either any specific aims or anything like that. What are your hopes for the channel, and what future do you envision for it? I don't know. That's probably a strange question to not really have an answer to. I have a lot of plans for what I want to do on the channel, but where it goes is kind of where it goes, you know? There are certain things I'd like to hit, certain milestones I'd like to keep pushing towards, but nothing sort of overwhelming. Like, at the end of the day, this is kind of just a hobby for me more than anything else. So I guess what my hope is for the channel is that I keep enjoying doing it and I keep having fun with it, and hopefully anything else can just follow from that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I want to just keep having fun with it. I guess there are some more specific things I would like to put out. I guess, like, what June was in terms of content, I would like to get back to that level of content output, because that was fun. That felt good. That felt really good. Perhaps slightly more than that, but yeah, I would like to get back to that much, especially, like, non-gameplay content, like, more discussion-oriented content or analysis-focused content, or even just fun stuff like the code names, like, just more non-Let's Play-y stuff. I'd like to get back towards more of that. That's something I would really like to do in the future. But in terms of anything, like, beyond that, I actually don't have a ton. So yeah, that's pretty much where I land on it. There's things I'd like to do in the future, but also some of those... Look, there are obviously some things I want to do in the future that I want to keep quite close to my chest. You know, keep them on the down low for now until I actually have plans to put them in place. Oh, one thing I definitely do want to do in the future is I want to do more, like, videos that are a full playthrough recap. I think these bang every time anyone does them, and I think they're genuinely very good content, and I like good content, and I would like to put out more good content, so I would like that to be a part of my content. Yeah. I don't know. I could go on about this for a while, because, like, whilst I don't have anything specific, there is a lot I want for the future of the channel, but there you go. That's enough for you to feast on, I suppose, and we can move on to the next question, which is, do you plan to remain a Fire Emblem exclusive channel? I think so. There may be, like, a branch out into some, like, other SRPGs. Like, if I played, like, Advance Wars, or... In fact, I will probably definitely play Dark Deity 2 on the channel, because I never finished Dark Deity 1. I'm really bad at finishing games. You will learn this about me over time. But, yeah, like, I'm pretty bad at finishing games, but when you're doing it as part of a playthrough, it becomes a lot easier, because you actually have a drive and a motivation to keep playing a game, I guess. And yeah, so there'll probably be some other SRPGs that come onto the channel at some point, but if I wanted to do something that was like a whole shift away from that sort of stuff, I'd probably just make a new channel for it, honestly, and work from there. Hopefully I'd be able to pull enough of an audience over to get things like community posts and potentially even monetization on it without too much time investment, but who knows. Yeah, I've definitely considered, like, uploading other stuff now that I've got more of an audience, but I don't know. I don't think I've quite... How do I say this in a way that doesn't just sound like I'm pity farming? I'm not happy enough with my Fire Emblem content yet to want to branch out into other things. I think once I'm happier with what I do with FE on a more consistent basis, I would feel more comfortable branching out. But I kind of feel like I need to do this to a degree I'm happy with before I start looking into other stuff. And that's something I really need to start pushing towards before any other options really get explored. Have I ever played Persona? No. I own a couple of them on Steam, but I've never actually played them because not only am I bad at finishing games, I'm also bad at starting games. Basically, I just enjoy playing them. Yeah, I've never actually got around to it. I need to at some point. A million people have told me to play Persona 5, and I've just never have. I'm sure I will eventually, but when that will be, I don't know. There's a ton of games that I really want to play, and I've just never have. So, yeah, hopefully I can fill in some of those voids, including the Persona void at some point, although free time at the minute is very limited, so probably won't be soon. What part about Fire Emblem games do you love that the majority of players tend to dislike? This one's easy. Ambush spawns. I think ambush spawns are one of the best features of Fire Emblem, and I think one bad game in Three Houses, where they were used fairly horrifically, has soured opinion on them to the point of being almost irredeemable. But I think when they're used well and they're telegraphed and you know where they're coming from and roughly when they're coming and roughly how many of them are coming, but they have that aggression, they start moving from the get-go, they're something you have to prepare for. I think they're a really fun feature. I've been really enjoying them in things like FE12, having to block forts to play around them, because if the enemies in that game, like, didn't ambush spawn, I would just wait for them to spawn and kill them. But because they ambush spawn, like, they get the priority, so I have to be either prepared to kill them on the enemy phase or to block their spawns, and I think it's fun. I like playing around ambush spawns. I think it's a fun thing to play around, honestly. So, yeah, that's probably, and I see them get a lot of flack, which is why they're the thing that I love that the majority of players tend to dislike. I see a lot of people praising games for not having ambush spawns, and to be honest, I was glad Engage didn't as well, because Three Houses did them really badly, and look, just because I like them, it doesn't mean I like them in every instance, and as much as I love Three Houses, they didn't do ambush spawns well. They were horrifically used in that game, and a major source of frustration for many players, including me. So, yeah, I'm not defending Three Houses ambush spawns, but in general, I'm a fan of ambush spawns in Fire Emblem. In general, I've just thought of another example I don't like, which is when games usually have non-ambush spawns, but then occasionally throw in ambush spawns. Path of Radiance does this. Really annoying. I don't like that either. But yeah, that's my answer. It's ambush spawns. We don't talk about ambush spawns any longer. What other games do you play besides Fire Emblem? I play quite a lot, but I don't really play anything that consistently. The only things I'm really playing consistently right now are, like, Teamfight Tactics, which is League of Legends Auto Battler, and League itself, I guess. Like, I don't play it a ton, but, like, I'll jump in ARAMs or something whenever people are enjoying it, and I guess that's kind of it. I tend to just play games with friends, and whatever I play depends on whatever they want to play. I'm pretty flexible, honestly. I just enjoy playing stuff. I'm not too fussed what it is. I think I want to go into this question in more detail. I don't know why I'm pretending I haven't already recorded it. I've recorded a video where I kind of go through my top 25 games of all time. You know that Twitter trend that's been going around? Well, I did that in video form. So that'll be coming tomorrow, the day after. The video's already made. I did that one before this one for some reason, because I do things in weird orders. And actually, I quite enjoy the video. I'm not gonna lie, I went through and did all the soundtrack and got, like, the music from the games I was talking about at the time, and for the past, like, 24 hours, I've just been on a huge nostalgia overdose. So, yeah, for me, it was a really fun video to make. I'm fairly sure it was actually fluff and garbage, but I don't know, I had fun with it, so I hope you guys enjoy it too when that drops in a day or two. What do you consider to be the biggest Fire Emblem pitfall? Hoarding? Yeah, probably hoarding. I don't, like, the problem with a lot of these pitfalls is they're highly playstyle dependent. Like, I could say, like, not using your J-gun, but, like, I think a lot of people find Fire Emblem less fun when you use the overpowered units. So, like, not using Seth isn't really a pitfall, it's just a... But it depends on your reasoning behind it, right? Like, if you're playing Sacred Stones and you're like, I don't want to use Seth because I find it makes the game less fun, that's fine. That's not a pitfall. But if you're like, I don't want to use Seth because I think he's bad and steals EXP, that's silly. That's a pitfall. But the biggest pitfall is hoarding, because there is no gameplay choices besides it. You have fun tools. Use them. Don't sit on the warp staff because, like, you don't want to use it and you might need it for a rainy day. Don't sit on all your gold because you might need it later, unless... Okay, I realize I'm doing that in FE12, but look, that game's really hard. I don't know what's going to be around the corner. But in general, feel free to use your resources, because honestly, when I say this, I'm not even thinking, like, they make the game easier. Use your resources because they make the game more fun, right? Using the tools the game gives you makes the game more enjoyable. Those big weapons that can one-shot things, yeah, they make the game fun. Use them. Like, so that's why I'd consider hoarding the biggest pitfall, because it's not playstyle based. No one's hoarding because they think it makes the game more enjoyable. that's why I think it's the biggest pitfall. I don't think it's like, oh, I don't want to do this because of XYZ. I think people just do it because they are scared they're going to need this stuff later. But, hey, if you never use something throughout the entire game, that's a bigger waste than using it early when you didn't 100% need it. You only, like, 80% needed it or something. So, yeah, use your stuff. Hoarding is the biggest pitfall. If you could add just one feature to be a permanent addition to future Fire Emblem games, what would it be? Okay, I'll give you two answers because I think one of them already is. The rewind mechanic has to remain in the game moving forward. It is such a huge aspect of the games at this point that I really can't see Fire Emblem existing without it moving on. It's a major saver of like frustration and tedium, and there are applications of it which I wouldn't mind them changing. Like, I don't want it to necessarily stay the way it is now, but I think in general, yeah, I think the rewind mechanic has to stay. I don't think it's like a coincidence that the Fire Emblem has grown massively since this mechanic was introduced, because a lot of us really enjoy playing without it, but a lot of us really enjoy playing with it as well. And yeah, it can save a lot of frustration. It can make doing a quote-unquote casual playthrough a lot easier. You know, no one wants to lose their favorite unit, and a lot of people also don't want to have to replay maps. So the rewind mechanic comes in and kind of solves both those problems for people who just want to experience the game's story and world and lore. I think it's especially relevant in something like Three Houses. However, I do think rewind mechanics probably are a permanent feature moving forward, but they've only been in 3 games so far, so just in case they're not, I'll give that one. But then I'll also give another one, which, if I could just make something now and put it in Fire Emblem and just have it always be in the series, customizable difficulties. Kind of like what Dark Deity did, just give us options to customize things like how expensive things are, how strong the enemies are, how strong your units are, EXP gains, you know, the volume of enemies, anything. Just give us customizable difficulty options, because look, even when you create incredibly hard difficulties in games, sad people like me will find a way to make them easy. So I don't know, just find a way to make them harder. I think the easiest example to give to people who played it is Hades, with the, I'm not super familiar with it, what's it called, Heat, where you can like change a bunch of different things and it adds a level to the heat. And you, like, all those things are optional, so you can make one thing harder or something else harder or something else harder. And yeah, I would love that kind of customization in Fire Emblem, for us to just be able to jack up enemies, make it, especially in some games, like, for example, Three Houses. I really love maddening in Three Houses. I find it a ton of fun to play, but I wish the resources were harder to manage. So I wish I could make things more expensive. I wish I could, like, make things cost more, or make certain resources rarer, like gold and things like that. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. I wish we had more customizable difficulties within Fire Emblem. In your time as a creator, what do you consider to be your biggest mistake? Actually, I'll end that one there because there's another question after it. But yeah, what do I consider to be my biggest mistake? I think about this a lot. There's a lot about the channel that I'm quite a self-critical person. In fact, I'm just quite a critical person in general. But yeah, I'm quite a self-critical person. And there's a lot that I consider myself to have done wrong or wish I'd have done differently. And I could look at a lot of individual videos and go, well, that was fairly shocking, you know. One that immediately springs to mind is the Dimitri video, Breaking Down Dimitri, where I accidentally put in the Gremory box instead of Cavalier, so all the information for Gremory is there when I'm talking about Cavalier. This coincides with the exact time that, for some reason, I think twice, I said Cavalier has 6 move. It doesn't, it has 7. And if either of those hadn't happened, I don't think I would care as much. But because I verbally say 6, and rather than showing the Cavalier information, I'm showing the Gremory information, then yeah, it's just this big mistake in the middle of the video. And look, there's videos with mistakes in them throughout the channel, but that's the one that really kind of, like, bugs me. But that's more of a symptom of a mistake rather than a mistake itself, and it's a symptom of not proof watching videos before I upload them. And a lot of this came from time crunching myself, or frankly burning myself out, you know? Because breaking downs, I don't know how they come across, but they're not quick to make, like, especially sort of the researching and scripting of them, and then there's the recording and the editing as well. But, like, yeah, the researching and scripting takes a good while, and then there's the recording, the editing. It's a long process, and I think sometimes I hit render, and that's it. I'm just done with the video, and I just want to move on. And yeah, if I took an extra half an hour to proof watch them, I would have caught a lot of these mistakes in the pipeline and fixed them. and they wouldn't have had to have been uploaded. And yeah, now those mistakes are just on the channel forever, and I kind of hate that. In fact, not even kind of, I really hate that. Like, I wish, like, it was like a Reddit post where I could just go and hit edit and correct the stuff I got wrong. But no, there's no easy way to edit videos, at least not in 2023, so... Well, sadly, those mistakes are just stuck on the channel forever, and that bugs me. And whilst it would be easy to name one of those mistakes itself, they're all a symptom of not proof-watching videos, which would catch a lot of them in the pipeline. And, yeah... It's something I've tried to fix moving forward. I'm not gonna lie, I don't proof-watch every playthrough video because there's very little that can really go wrong. What, I leave in a 3, 2, 1 countdown before a tier list or something? Like, there's not a whole ton that can go wrong with a playthrough video. But, yeah, my longer form stuff now, I definitely proof-watch to a larger extent. And, I guess it's a mistake, it's also a lesson learned, but I wish it didn't have to be. It's... You know, I started this channel at the age of 25. At the age of 25, you should not have to learn to check your work before you publicize it. That's common sense, you know? If you submit an essay to a class at school, you read through it before you submit it so you don't make a stupid mistake. It's information I had, it's information I didn't do, partially out of, well, let's call it what it is, laziness, and partially out of time crunching. It's, yeah, and it's just one I kind of have to deal with now as far as this channel moves forward, and... I don't know. It is one that really bugs me, but nothing I can do about it now, so we just move on, I guess. Next question is, what do you... Oh, this is the last half of the previous question that I sort of, like, cut off. What do you think is the best video or series you've made so far? It's a heavy question. It could be a lot of things. Series has to be a Fire Emblem talk. The quality of that content is better than anything else I've put out, basically, ever. The editing work on that, which was done by JP, is incredible. This is the standard of content I want to put out moving forward. There are reasons why I can't. There's reasons why that series kind of stopped, and essentially you know, for those of you who don't know, I recently moved house, and finances have changed quite a bit, so how much I can afford to pay editors has changed quite a bit, and yeah, that will come back in the future for sure, there is no doubt in my mind about that, but in the meantime, I'll just sort of miss it being on the channel, I guess. I think it was a huge mark of credibility to have content of that quality on the channel. It was content I could be proud of on a consistent basis. I guess there are a few other series that probably deserve mentions here. I really like Agree to Disagree. I think this is a really fun series. Honestly, I really like it because it means I get to talk to Fire Emblem content creators about Fire Emblem for like an hour at a time, and I've got to speak to people like Mecha and Adam for just an hour about FE, which is, you know, as someone who watched Fire Emblem content creators, yeah, that's really cool. I'm not gonna lie, having that opportunity is really cool. Getting to turn it into content itself was also really cool, and I really like the series. I think it's led to a lot of really interesting and fun discussions. And I guess the other one I have to mention is Breaking Down, right? Breaking Down's a really weird series. Like I've mentioned before, whilst I do hold a lot of love for Breaking Down, because it kind of was my first series in a way, and I'm sure a lot of people are watching, it's how you found the channel. It will either be that or a tier list, and like, it's a huge reason for my growth, and I do kind of love it. It is what I kind of consider, like, the channel's child, in a way, like, it's what it grew. But because of that, it's also, like, such a... It's just got, like, every mistake I made as a growing creator littered throughout that series, and that kind of blows. Yeah, I don't know. I hold a lot of love for Breaking Down, but I also... The other concern I have about Breaking Down... I don't know if I should open up about this on the channel, but whatever. I'm kind of worried it will kind of be like... My first series will be my magnum opus, and I will spend the rest of my time, you know, partaking in this hobby trying to top my first ever series. And I guess that's something that I kind of am concerned about too. But I guess, yeah, whilst I do love Breaking Down, I have issues with Breaking Down too. There's also the fact that I've made 32 of these at this point. Like, I think it's 32, 31, 32, 33. I don't know. I've made a lot of them, and at this point there is an element of staleness to it from my perspective. And also just, like, so much I wish I could have done differently with the series. I don't know, maybe I'll take a leaf out of the game industry's book and just do a Breaking Down remastered in a few months' time, who knows. But, yeah, I love Breaking Down, but it is what it is at the end of the day, and because of that is both the reasons why I love it and why I can't put it in that top spot. I think AFET is just too clear to not put first, a Fire Emblem talk. Oh, the other thing I should probably mention is the original Three Houses Maddening tier list. That thing has, like, almost 100k views, I think, at this point. It's absolutely bananas. Yeah, it's nuts. It still gets a ton of views every day. It still brings in subscribers. Still makes me money. So those are all positive things, and yeah, that's another one that's definitely up there. So I think that's enough on that topic. Oh, the next question is, what video are you most proud of? I mean, I guess we've kind of covered that. It probably, like, if I had to pick an individual one, it'd probably be one of the Fire Emblem talks. In fact, if it's just an individual video, a couple of the breaking downs can actually slip in there. Like, that, despite the flaws, there are some individual videos in that series that I am very proud of. Raphael's, I've always said I really like. I think Breaking Down Raphael is really good. I like Breaking Down Ash quite a lot because I might make a video on this going forward, but, like, the reason I made Breaking Down is almost encapsulated by Breaking Down Ash being one of the first ones I did. And yeah, I don't know, I might do a video on that in the future. I don't know if there's any interest in it, but, like, the Breaking Down, I guess. But yeah, that's another one I really like. I really like how I handle some of the more polarizing tools as well in things like breaking down Mercedes or breaking down Lysithea with things like Fortify or Warp. I think I did a pretty good job of that, so I guess those are other videos that I'm actually quite proud of in a way. I guess those would be the main ones. Oh, if we're talking individual video I'm most proud of, I've got to give a nod to the system analysis video on Three Houses classing. That's one that I should definitely mention, because that might, like, in terms of video that I made solely by myself, so not including the Fire Emblem talks, I think that might be the best thing on the channel. I think it's a really well-made video, and I think it does its job very well, as generally just being quite good. So yeah, I might throw that one in the mix as well. That was nice. I basically just got to advertise my own content in the middle of a video for like 5 minutes. That was fun. What video would you redo completely? I touched on it earlier, but Breaking Down Dimitri. If I had to pick one, it would be Breaking Down Dimitri. Although, maybe Breaking Down Constance as well, just because my opinion on that unit and how to use her has changed quite a bit since that video. So that would be another one I would definitely consider. Yeah, those are the two big ones, I guess. There are little things I would change in a few more, like Breaking Down Felix has a really bad mistake in it, and Breaking Down... One of the Battalion Wrath people has Battalion Wrath at the wrong rank. That one's annoying. Yeah, there are little things I'd change in quite a few, but those are the two big ones, Constance and Dimitri. Which Fire Emblem games have you played/finished? Haha, okay, let's go. So, I have played but not finished Fire Emblem 1. I have never played Fire Emblem 2. I've never played Fire Emblem 3. I've played and finished Genealogy of the Holy War once, but I remember basically nothing about Part 2, and I don't know why. It just didn't really stick in my head. But I'm craving to play that game again. It's so good. I love Genealogy. I've played through, like, the first few chapters of that game so many times because I just have so much fun with it. And, yeah, I love Genealogy. I've not played Thracia. I have partially played through FE6, and sorry to everyone who wants me to continue that playthrough. It will happen eventually, I promise. I'm just so busy. But I will find the time, I promise. We will finish FE6. I might turn it into a video series rather than a stream one, to be honest, but I'm not too sure. I'm still figuring that out. But yeah, I've played and beaten FE7 a few times. I've played and beat FE8 50 plus times. I don't know. I spent like 10 years with this being the only Fire Emblem I played, and I played the hell out of it as a child, so yeah, I've played a ton of FE8. I've played and beaten FE9 a few times, including on the channel. I've played FE10, but never beaten it. I've started a couple of playthroughs, and they've just fizzled out, so I need to pick that one back up again at some point. I've played Shadow Dragon, and I think I've beaten it, but I honestly can't remember. I'm pretty sure I've beaten Shadow Dragon, but then there are certain aspects to Shadow Dragon that people talk about, and they just don't resonate in my brain. Like, they just switch off, and, like, I don't have any recollection of them, so I think I've beaten Shadow Dragon. Obviously, I'm playing through FE12 on the channel now. I've never played Awakening. I have played a Birthright. I guess I've still got an ongoing playthrough of Birthright going, which is an offline playthrough, but honestly, now that I've got 2 playthrough series going with Echoes and FE12, then there's a very low chance that I pick that back up again, because I've kind of got my Fire Emblem fill at the minute. I started Conquest, and I got to one of the really early chapters, the Ice Village chapter, for those who are familiar with the game, and I was like, this game's really, really, really good. I want to do this for content, so I never played it any further. Never played Revelations, playing Echoes now. Obviously, I've played Engage, and I've never played Three Houses. No, I've never touched the game. What's Three Houses? Yeah, obviously, I've played Three Houses a ton. I don't think I've put as much hours into Three Houses as people think I have, though. I've done way more, like, research and reading and, like, studying, quote-unquote, as weird as that sounds, Three Houses, than I have done playing Three Houses. So, I've definitely played, a lot of Three Houses, but I've spent more... if it was time committed to the game, yeah, the research and reading for things like videos, or just for my own entertainment, to be honest, is way higher than that. Like, yeah. I love Three Houses, great game. But that's the rundown of every game I've played, so, yeah. Don't know where I'm going with this sentence, just gonna move on. Have you played any of the spin-offs? If not, would you consider it? I played the demo of Three Hopes, and then I bought the game, and that's where that story ends. I really want to play more Three Hopes. I love Fodlan, and I do want to experience that game more. It's just time. Like, I just struggle to sit down and play, like, a single-player playthrough game without, like, I guess, like, an outside motivation to do so, such as, for example, doing it for content or something like that. Like, I don't know, I just struggle to do it. I don't know why. It's not always been a thing, but it's definitely been more of a thing in the past few years. So I tend to just play a lot of, like, multiplayer games, and the top 25 games video thingy will probably shed some more light on this, to be honest. But yeah, I want to play more Three Hopes. I also picked up Fire Emblem Warriors. I went to see my parents in town a couple of months ago, and I say a couple of months ago, probably 6 months ago now. There was a game store across the road. I essentially just went in, saw Fire Emblem Warriors on the Switch, and I'm like, yep, I'll get that. So I have Fire Emblem Warriors, the first one. God knows if I'll ever play it. Oh, if it counts as a spin-off, I have played and beaten Pokemon Conquest, which is Pokemon's version of Fire Emblem. Yeah, I've played and beaten that, so if it counts, that. And of course, I've played Fire Emblem Codenames, which is the true Fire Emblem spin-off. But yeah, I can't think of any other Fire Emblem spin-offs, so if I'm missing anything, let me know. I've not really done too much in the way of, like, ROM hacks or anything like that either, so if they would factor into that, I've not really touched them. But yeah, that's where that one ends. Will you keep making only Fire Emblem content, or will you try others tactical RPG? I've basically answered this already, but there's a high chance that I will branch out to other tactical RPGs. And the final question is, why hasn't Akira used happy? Because he's very unhappy. For those of you who don't know, fellow content creator Akira Su has never used happy, and we should all shun him for it. Everyone shun Akira for not using happy. And yes, I will change the way I pronounce their name every single time I say it. But yeah, Akira use happy. That's the last question, so we're done. And this video's been going on for like half an hour, and I did it in one take, so that's pretty fun. I didn't have to pause for anything, so that's nice. I guess let's wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you again for helping me to reach 3,000 subscribers. It's a crazy number, and I'm very thankful for the support. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you again to the people who back the channel on Patreon. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And I'll catch you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And goodbye.